I believe that the resiliency that I have is because I am aware that whatever has happened in my life or whatever I seem to be going through, I've never let that identify me. Examples of this. At 23, I was told I had cervical cancer and that I would not have any more children. At the time I had my first son, he was 3.5. And although I was told this, and I can honestly tell you that I lost a full week of my life because that news was very hard to digest. When I finally did snap out of it, I came back with that fighter inside because I refused to own it being the cancer. Instead, I was all in. I even going for my surgery to have my cervix removed and the doctor having me sign my life away, I told him, you're just going to take what you need because guaranteed I'm having 2 more kids. And I remember him just telling me, you are so feisty. And I said, yes, I am. And I was put to sleep. And when I woke up, the first thing I asked my fiance, my husband now at the time, but I asked him, do I still have my cervix? Do I still have my uterus? You know, it wasn't. And I did. And then the doctor telling me I would need to come back for follow-up test to see, you know, if I needed, when I would be starting my radiation and if I needed chemo. And I was like, I'll be back, but I'm not going to need to do any of those treatments. Now, do I think I was lucky? I think there's a little bit of grace in there. I think there's a little bit of miraculous stuff in there. But I also know that my mind at the time was a fighter mind, a survivor mind, like I'm not a victim. And I was extremely blessed, fortunate to have 2 more kids. The chances of, you know, having spontaneous miscarriages in my 2nd trimester and 3rd trimester were more elevated. I was on, obviously, they were high-risk pregnancies. I was very fortunate to bring them to pretty much term and that they were big babies, healthy big babies. So yes, I believe that if you focus your energies on where you want to be, you are able to get there. I didn't let that instance define me. When my middle son was 5, going on 6, he actually had been struggling since birth. We had many health concerns with him, a lot of scary things happening. He was taking liquid iron at the age of 3, and his blood work was always low when it came to his iron. Many different things. Well, right before he turned 6, we got the diagnosis that he had Crohn's. And as much as that was devastating news, I was already afraid that he had cancer because he had a lot of these signs. And being told that he had Crohn's, as much as it was devastating, and yes, I did have a burnout because I was extremely heartbroken and furious and all these kinds of mixed emotions. I'll never forget what helped snap me out of that. And I've shared this story with my parent support groups that I run. But we were at Sick Kids Hospital, him and I. We had to stay there for a while to be able to do all the tests that needed to be done and the procedures that needed to be done and the education component that came with him being on a nasogastric tube and the feedings that he would have to go through, etc. But we were playing, him and I, on the elevators at Sick Kids Hospital, just playing one afternoon to pass the time. And we accidentally ended up on the floor, on the 8th floor, where there are cancer patients. I remember seeing the look on parents' faces, parents who have children who have cancer, and you know that they're terminal. And automatically, my perception of where I was at that time changed. Yes, my son has Crohn's. I refuse to let him or us believe that Crohn's has him, because mindset is everything. So that was a really difficult time, and I'm not saying that things are easy now, but we get through it, because I don't let that define us. Other stories that I can share with you that I didn't let define. When my third son was born, he almost died at birth. He had to be flown away. I couldn't see him for the first 3 days of his life. Again, a really tough rock bottom event in my life, but I didn't let that define me. And I refused to believe in the worst, right? Like sometimes bad things happen and we cling to the notion of how bad it's going to be or how bad it can be. And in my head, I've just always never allowed myself to go there. Or if I do go there, I don't stay there. It's like a glimpse and I need to turn around and run right into the direction that I'm going. Just like when you're driving a car. You're driving a car, you're looking at the horizon. You're not looking at what's around you. You're not looking at the shoulder. You're not looking at, the trees. You're looking at the horizon because that's the focus of where you need to be going. Basically, I seem to have always lived my life as such. You can't judge a book by its cover. I may look like I have it all figured out, but I can guarantee you that I don't. And I can also, on that same notion, say nobody does. Nobody has it figured out. We are all just winging it. We're all just trying to do the best we can with what we have and what we know. And, I could put blame. Some people like to play the blame and shame game and say, I had a rough life. I've had difficult things that happened in my life, and I could go into great details about certain things in my life, but how would that help me? And how would that help you? I have a lot of life history. I have a lot of life experience, and I think that makes me someone who can use that to an advantage to help others. Because the point is that life isn't always going to be easy. And I actually think that it shouldn't be easy. I think that you need to work, and you need to work hard at where you're going in life and in your relationships and what you want in life. Things should never just be handed to you, because I can guarantee that even if things were handed to you, you wouldn't appreciate them. It's human nature to just dismiss things, and For you to really value what you have and to appreciate and honor and respect what you have to have built it. You have to have that resiliency and that tenacity and that vibrancy to just go with it. I'm 38 years old, and I feel like I've lived many different lives. And I'm not done growing. I will be a student for life, and my hope is that you will too. But you can't judge a book by its cover. I can tell you that I spent more than half of my adult life hating myself because I was never whatever enough. I was never pretty enough. I was never smart enough. I was never lean enough. I was never a good enough mother. I wasn't a good enough wife. Like, I've done all of the not enoughness messages that I know many of you have. And all I can tell you is, I'm with you on that. I can empathize with you on that. I've been that girl who has been 125 pounds, super friggin' lean, almost sickly looking lean, and who hated herself, insane up here and in here. It was never enough. I was never enough, and I would never have been enough. I've also been that girl who has, after having her baby, gaining 100 pounds in my pregnancy, being stuck at between 220 and 230 pounds, 230 pounds, and stuck there for years. Stuck in my head for years. I've also been that girl who's been in between, bouncing back and forth, gaining and losing the same 15 pounds for years and years. I've been that girl. And I can tell you that the last few years I have spent undoing all the truths that I thought were real. And I have spent that time unbecoming and figuring out that I can rewrite this ending. I am not what happened to me. I am not what I perceived myself to be. My outer shell means nothing to the outside world because I have more to offer the world than just my body. I know what it's like to be lying face down on the ground. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be paralyzed by fear and thinking that, but they're judging me and I'm never enough. And I know what it's like to want to stay small because of that. But this last year, I've told myself I am done. I don't want to stay small. I want to be as big as I can, and take up all the room that I can in my life. And my goal as an empowerment coach to women is to encourage you as well. Stop being small. It's not another diet that's going to fix it. It's not another coach that's going to fix it. You need to really go inwards. You need to go inwards and you need to do the dark, deep work. You need to learn true forgiveness and you need to learn true letting go. Because I can tell you right now, whatever your story is and wherever you are on your path, it doesn't define you if you don't let it. It has no power over you if you don't let it. And the only way to take your power back is to actually turn and face it. As scary as that sounds, you need to turn around, you need to face it. You need to ask yourself that those challenging questions. And you need to answer them honestly. You can never judge a book by its cover.